Story 1. This happened a few years ago during the summer before the COVID-19 pandemic. I was about 15 years old at the time. I used to play on a basketball team, but I stopped playing a few years later due to the pandemic. I'm nearsighted, so I can only see what's a few inches in front of me. I was concerned that my glasses might fall apart during practice or a game, so my father got me a pair of sports glasses or glasses with straps. This detail will be important later. Although I wasn't fond of them, they worked well for me. A few days after getting my sports glasses, my niece, who is just 11 months old, pulled my regular glasses off my face, causing one of the lenses to pop out. The lenses were super glued rather than implanted, so I wasn't upset with her, but she is a strong young girl. My father ordered me new glasses, but they wouldn't arrive for a few days, so I had to wear the sports glasses in the meantime. One day, I went shopping for some protein shakes to have before games or practice. As I opened one of the freezers to grab a shake, I felt a tug on my pants. I looked down and saw a young boy, about 7 or 8 years old, standing next to me. The conversation went as follows. Him. Hey, I want those goggles. Where did you get them? Me. These aren't goggles, little guy. Him. Yes, they are goggles. Can I have them? Me. I'm sorry, kid, but I need these to see better because my vision isn't very good. Him. Okay. I think he scoffed, but I don't remember clearly. At first, I thought that was the end of it, just a curious kid. But I was wrong. Enter the entitled mother. Suddenly, I felt a tug on my shirt. Her. Excuse me. Me. Yes. Her. Why won't you give my angel your goggles? Me? Excuse me. Her. My angel wants to go swimming, but he really needs goggles. I'm a single mom and barely make enough to support my son and pay my bills. Please be kind and donate them to my son. I noticed a wedding ring on her finger. Me. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am, and I sympathize with your son, but I still cannot give you these glasses. Her. Oh, come on. If you can buy those goggles, surely you can just buy another pair. You have no idea how hard it is to be a single parent. Me. Again, I'm very sorry, but there's nothing I can do. Now please leave me alone. I need to finish my shopping. Her. Come on, be kind and give them to my son. Me. Ma'am, I don't need to give you anything. She was getting annoyed. Give them to me now. You're too old to wear goggles anyway. Yes, she actually said I was too old to wear goggles. Me, no. Her, why not? Me, because I don't need to. The kid, growing more mature than his mother, said, Can we leave, please? Her, hold on. I was surprised at how the child had become more reasonable than his mother, but I wasn't complaining. Her, see, now you've upset my child. You have to give them to me now, or I'll call the police. Me. Go ahead, call them. You can't just demand something that's mine. Besides, even if I did give these to you, they don't function as normal goggles. Her. Give them to me. She then tried to yank my glasses off my face, but because they were sports glasses, the straps kept them from being pulled off. I shoved her to the ground in self-defense. I'm not a particularly strong guy for a basketball player, but I am tall, slightly taller than her. I was surprised I had that kind of strength. It hurt when she let go, as the glasses hit me directly on the nose. There was no bleeding, but it still hurt. The entitled kid looked shocked. Me. What is wrong with you? She started shrieking. Help! Help! This man is assaulting me and stole my angel's goggles. Enter a nice employee. Employee. What is going on here? Me. This woman tried to, she cut me off. Her. This man took my son's goggles, and when I tried to get them back, he assaulted me. It's unbelievable how fast an entitled person can turn into the victim. Employee. Sir, is this true? Me. No, these are glasses, and they're mine. She tried to yank them off my head, so I shoved her in self-defense. Her. Don't believe a word he says. He stole from me and assaulted me. I want to press charges. I don't know why she was asking an employee who had no relation to the police to press charges. I guess somebody must have called the police when they heard I was assaulting that woman because 2 police officers arrived on the scene. Police Officer 1. Hi, we got a call about an assault on a woman. Her. Yes, officers. This man took my son's goggles, and when I tried to get them back, he shoved me to the ground. Arrest him. Police Officer 2. Sir, is this true? Me. Well, yes and no. I never stole anything from this lady. I was minding my own business when she came up to me and started demanding my glasses for her son, who doesn't need them. She then tried to yank them off my head, and I shoved her in self-defense. Looking back, I probably should have mentioned the bruise on my nose. Her. Liar. They're my angel's goggles, and you stole them. Me. No, they're mine. You can check the cameras and see I walked into the store wearing them. Police Officer 2. Okay, quiet down. Employee. Officers, would you like to review the security footage? Police Officer 1. Yes, we would like to, ma'am. As we made our way to the security room, I could see the fear on the entitled mother's face. Police Officer 1 reviewed the footage while Police Officer 2 kept an eye on me, the mother, and the kid. The nice employee stood against the wall next to the door. I was on my phone, not paying attention, but I caught a glimpse of the entitled mother giving me a blank stare. The not-so-entitled kid sat with his head down, embarrassed. I started feeling bad for him. Police Officer 1 walked out of the security room. Police Officer 1. Would you like to press charges? The entitled woman, in a tone of grief, said, Yes, I would like, but the officer cut her off. Police Officer 1. I wasn't talking to you. The mother's face turned pale. Me? No, officers, I don't want to press charges as I am a minor. Police Officer 1, Police Officer 2, and the mother were all shocked. I have a full beard and am pretty tall, about 5'9", so I guess it was surprising for them to learn that I was a minor. Police Officer 2. May I see some identification? Me. Certainly, officer. I handed him my ID, which was also my learner's permit. I don't think he had probable cause to ask for my ID, but he was probably curious to see if I was telling the truth. Police Officer 1 to the mother. Yes, he is a minor, and he is more mature than you. Okay, he didn't really say that mature part, but he said something along those lines. Her. What? No, that ID is clearly fake. He's not a minor. He's clearly lying. Arrest him. Police Officer 2. Young man, you are free to go. This made the entitled mother lose her composure, and then she shouted the famous entitled mother quote. I would like to speak to your supervisor. I proceeded to leave, and I could still hear her yelling at the officers. I don't understand. She was fearful on the way to the security room, but now, suddenly, she's angry. This is the type of person who tries to get a victory out of a situation, even if it means taking others down with her. The employee gave me a discount on my protein shakes for the inconvenience. It wasn't totally necessary, but I appreciated it anyway. It was about 30% off. A few days later, I returned to the store to find the employee and ask her what had happened to the mother. I asked if she had been arrested because of me, but the employee told me she hadn't been arrested for that reason. Instead, she was arrested for assaulting one of the officers and trying to take their taser. I was shocked to hear that. I could see her assaulting one of them, but trying to steal their taser. Who does that? Story 2. I worked as a cinema technician for quite a few years, and during that time, I had my fair share of encounters with entitled parents. The pandemic gave me ample time to reflect on those meetings, and here's one of them. In the summer, my country receives a lot of tourists, particularly from America. Many of them visit to explore their family heritage, and they are generally nice. However, not this Karen. She was different. She, her husband, and their entitled child came to the cinema in the middle of the day. There were very few people there since we, Norwegians, like to enjoy the sun whenever it appears. Typically, when American tourists come to the kiosk to buy something, they ask, "Do you speak English?" And I respond that I do, and we continue the transaction in English. But Karen didn't ask me if I spoke English, which I found unusual. but I saw no harm done. She wanted to see a children's movie for her child, and I informed her that all of them were dubbed. After explaining what dubbing meant to a now slightly irritated Karen, she became a little angry. I told her that a movie in English would start in about an hour, and she could watch it with her child. She complained a bit more and eventually slammed some money on the register, demanding a free popcorn bucket for the time she claimed I had wasted, which she did not get. About an hour later, I heard screaming coming from the entrance to the auditorium. Naturally, I ran to see what was happening and found Karen yelling at my coworker. Now, my coworker at the time was an older man, a very old Norwegian man. Fun fact about Norway, most of us speak English, but many older people here do not. Me to my coworker, "What's wrong? Can she find the auditorium?" Coworker, "I don't know. I think she asked me something, and I tried to tell her I don't speak English." We were speaking in Norwegian. Karen, "Excuse me. This man refuses to accommodate us. He refuses to speak English." Me, "He doesn't speak English, he speaks Norwegian." Karen, "How can he not speak English? This is terrible customer service, and he's scaring my child." Me, "I'm sorry, but you are in Norway, and some people here don't speak English." She cut me off. "I demand to speak to your manager." Me, "I'm sorry, but that won't be possible." Karen, "Why not?" Me, "Because he is the manager," I said, gesturing to my older coworker. She tried to insist that I call an actual manager, but my coworker was the only manager available, so that wouldn't have been possible anyway. She and the entitled child went in to see their movie. After the movie, they returned to the kiosk, demanding a refund because the subtitles were in the way, which they, of course, did not get. Story 3. This situation is technically still ongoing, so I'll update this as I get more information. I'm 17 years old, and I work at a popular fast food chain. The entitled mother in the story is 28 years old and a coworker. She also happens to be a single mom. Earlier this week, I reported her, and here's a list of reasons why. She's constantly rude to me and our coworkers. She doesn't know how to do her job properly and refuses any help. She's completely unhygienic. She doesn't wear a mask at work. She tries to work in the kitchen without gloves. We don't have paid breaks, and if you take more than 10 minutes, you're supposed to clock out to avoid stealing company time. Every day she works, she ends up taking a 40-50 minute break without clocking out, telling the manager it'll only be a couple of minutes. One time, when I was teaching her a position, she reached down, took off her shoe, and scratched her bare foot with her bare hand. I immediately pointed at the hand sanitizer and just said, "Sanitizer." Every time she works, our service times go up. So, yes, I, along with a few other employees, reported her. She immediately assumed it was me, which I don't understand since I had treated her politely in all our interactions. She ended up walking up to me and asking if I was 18. I told her no. Then she said, "Well, karma is real, and you just took food off of my little boy's plate. So let me catch you outside of here and see what happens." I responded, "Go ahead and assault a minor and see what happens." She paused and then said, "I would never do that," as if she hadn't just openly threatened me in front of 3 other employees. She hasn't been punished yet, but I'm probably going to report her for threatening me today. I would feel bad for her son if it weren't for the fact that she's openly admitted that her mother mostly takes care of him and that she uses code substances. We make less than $20,000 a year, so if she has enough money to consistently buy those substances, then that's probably where most of her paycheck is going. Story 4. Yesterday, I decided to get up early and get myself organized. I'm a 23-year-old female, and my partner is a 26-year-old male. We're in the process of sorting out our flat, and I needed to pick up some items from a store and the pet shop for my cat. My partner was at work. I live in a fairly large city near a retail park, and I foolishly didn't check the Sunday opening hours for the shops. I arrived around 9:45 a.m., and most of the stores didn't open until 10:30 a.m. So, I found a coffee shop and decided to have some breakfast and a drink while waiting for the stores to open. When I arrived, the place was nearly empty, with only me and 2 other people there. The tables were arranged in groups of 4, so I sat down and played on my phone for a bit. It turns out there's a little kids' workshop that happens every Sunday nearby, so while I was sitting there, it got busy very quickly. Soon, there was nowhere to sit. I had nearly finished my drink, but it was still only 10:15 am, and since it was freezing outside, I didn't want to stand in the cold until the shop opened. The queue was quite long by this point, with maybe 20 people or so in line. I noticed a lady, Karen, talking to her husband and looking at me. She was about 15th in line and had a little kid with her, maybe 5 or 6 years old. Karen made a beeline for my table with the little kid in tow. Karen, excuse me, do you mind moving so we can sit down? Me, you guys are more than welcome to sit with me. I'm just waiting for the store to open in 10 minutes, and I'll be off then. Karen, no, you need to move. We want this table to ourselves. You've finished your drink, so it's unfair of you to hog the table. Me, I'm leaving in literally 10 minutes. I don't want to wait outside in the freezing cold. You're more than welcome to share with me until then. By the time your husband's ordered and got your drinks, I'll be gone anyway. Karen, now raising her voice, no, you need to move now. I have a child that needs to sit down, and you're being selfish. Her screeching alerted one of the baristas, who came over and asked if everything was okay. Karen, she has finished her drink and won't move so we can sit down. Tell her she has to leave. At this point, I took a pointed sip of my coffee to emphasize that I wasn't actually done yet. The barista, Miss, she's still drinking her drink, and she is a paying customer as well. She has a right to sit here. The barista then looked at me. Do you mind sharing your table? I went to say that I'd already offered, but Karen cut me off. Karen, I don't want to share the table with her. She needs to leave. Barista, this is a family establishment. I suggest you stop raising your voice and either share a table with someone or leave. Karen, fine. I'll leave and tell everyone not to come here. She stormed off, grabbing her husband. The barista rolled his eyes at me and went back to the counter. A minute later, a young mother came over and asked if her child could sit with me while she ordered drinks. I said yes. I spent 5 minutes playing with the child, and by the time the young mother returned, I was packing up my things to leave. They got a nice table to themselves just by being polite.